Hello and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast with another Dream Team edition lined up this evening. And joining us is Derrynoose's Conor McNally, who was part of the DCU Sigerson Cup winning team in 2015 and has also represented Armagh at various age groups at underage level. So Conor, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me, Sean.
This is just something we're trying out, kind of this Dream Team edition, and I know being on that Sigerson Cup winning team with DCU, you've played with some stars as we'll come to see now. Once you start telling us your team.
Yeah, a few boys there and a few boys that are good in a night out too. So I had to get the balance between football and ability and crack wise too.
Well, that's definitely important. So we'll start, Connor, with your keeper, and you've went for one of your club mates. You've went for Stephen McCardle in that.
Yeah, so kicking off with Scuba as we call him, I suppose the biggest compliment I can pay to Stevie as a goalkeeper is he's probably our most accurate and has the two best feet in terms of shooting on our team. But what he gives to us in terms of goalkeeping wise is absolutely invaluable. His ability to strike a ball off the deck, how calm he is when he gets the ball, and sort of reassuring for the rest of the boys in terms of how he can actually read a game is huge, and probably has been the biggest or one of the biggest contributing factors in how this past sort of 2 to 3 years we've been able to sort of compete towards the business end of championship times. And Scoop is definitely one of the key reasons for that.
I think Stephen, as you say, he's good off the ground. He comes up to hit your 45s as well, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah, he scored a few of them. He scored a few goals off them as well. So don't want to give him too big of a head now, but he's not bad at it.
We move on to your full back line then, and we have Colin Hoy from Armagh, Cully Hanneman, Connor Boyle full back, and Jack Smith in the other corner. Connor Boyle and Jack Smith both you played with at DCU, and then Colin Hoy. I think he was your minor captain when you got close to final in 2011.
Yeah, I suppose I played with Colin right through, sort of with St Pat's Armagh, right the way up through, and then with Armagh through up with underage levels. But super defender, long rangey, a pest. But then at the same time, if you got the ball in his hands, he could open up his legs and take you the other way then as well. So all attributes of a sort of top quality defender, and Colin had them in abundance. But I suppose unfortunate for his sake and even Armagh's then too, that just injury just riddled him to an extent, and just suppose never allowed him to show what he had on sort of the inter-county stage, the senior level. But one that right the way up through, no one relished coming up again. Colin, he was just a super defender now.
And then at full back, it's Connor Boyle. Then Connor, he's obviously a Monaghan man and was part of that DCU team. Then
Yeah, so played with Boiler with DCU for right the way up through, and then the two of us actually went out to Ulster Club in San Francisco for a year as well. So had the joys of Boiler picking me up and training on most nights out there, which wasn't too fun. But he wouldn't thank me for putting him in at full back. He doesn't like to be stuck in there. But there's I suppose the reason why he keeps getting put back there is just because he's a outstanding defender in terms of just nullifying an opposition's best player. He's second to none. I suppose with Monaghan over the past number of years, he's picked up marquee forwards across the country and kept them fairly quiet, to say the least. But just an unbelievable reader of a game. But then even whenever he gets the ball, then too, just unbelievably hard to dispossess and get the ball off, and the tight situations that he can get himself and wriggle himself out of is unreal at times. But yeah, I have to say probably one of the best defenders that I've come up against. You just literally don't get a sniff against him. It's one-on-one. There's no point trying to really take Boiler on. He just very early gets beat. But super player. And then I suppose to the other side of him then Jack Smith as well, probably unbeknown to an extent to probably a lot of people outside of Dublin and even DCU then as well. But undoubtedly probably one of the best cornerbacks that I've ever seen or come up against or played with. Just an unassuming fella that just goes about his work of just taking a corner forward out of the game. Extremely quick and extremely nippy. Not the biggest in the world, but probably a little unfortunate to be from the county that he's from. That if he was in any other county, he probably would be a regular starter in most county teams across the country. But obviously being from Dublin, so it's tough to break into that setup. But across that Sigerson winning year and year after then as well, Jack is just a stalwart in sort of that cornerback position that you can just bank on him being a 8 out of 10 every single game.
I think that picture that I have of Jack Smith he's actually tackling Cillian O'Connor in that one. So I suppose that's the same as we were sort of saying about Conor Boyle. That's the quality of forward he's been tasked to pick up.
Yeah, I suppose when you get a few of the teams we played around that time, that they're sort of marquee players and forwards. I think, like I say, that time again, Jordanstown, there was Cillian O'Connor, maybe Kieran Hughes, Paddy McBurdy in the full back line, and Jack and Boiler were two of the lads picking up those men. So no simple or easy feat, but just shows the quality that they have to try and do their best to keep them under wraps as best as possible.
We'll move on to your half back line then, Conor, and you have another club man here. You have Patrick Quinn in at wing half back, and two more men from DCU then that you played with is Conor Moyna, who Armagh fans will remember from 2019 at Calvin man, and an interesting one, Mickey Quinn from Longford. He's probably one of the, I don't know if you would call him underrated, but he's probably one of them players that is just so good, just unfortunate to play for one of the weaker counties. He probably doesn't get the recognition he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose with Mickey as suppose unfortunate because of maybe club commitments that he had and then injuries here or there that didn't get probably to play as much with him as I would like to with DCU, because an unbelievable talent. Can't even stress that enough of his athletic ability. I suppose he had a stint with Essendon in the AFL for a while, so his athletic ability was never to be questioned. But you might have seen from a few of his Twitter videos over lockdown the first time round that he's got plenty of ball skills in the locker then as well. But just your ideal modern day halfback that can cover ground at serious pace, an unbelievable leader, and one that I suppose whenever he hangs up the boots is undoubtedly going to be an unbelievable coach or a manager as well, with just his knowledge of the game is second to none. But an unbelievable teammate to have, and I suppose, like I say, just unfortunate to an extent, maybe the county that he's from, and sort of in that Dublin period of dominance, that he will be highly regarded and get into any county team across the country hands down now. So yeah, super player. Then beside him, good friend Conor Moyna. I suppose, like I say, known to a lot of Armagh fans from a few of the run-ins with Calvin down the years. But in terms of an organizer, a leader, a ball playing centre half back, it's hard to look much further than Moyna. I suppose I played with him right through my sort of 5 years in DCU, and a super talented fella. I suppose he got sort of renowned for ghosting up the pitch and kicking a few outside of the boot points for Calvin over his past number of years, that I suppose got rightly rewarded with an All-Star nomination the year before last. But it's no surprise, like, he is kick first mentality, which is an absolute dream to play with, that if mine is coming up the pitch with the ball, that you know that he wants to deliver it as early as he possibly can, which is an absolute dream as a forward, like I say. So yeah, super player, super leader. He sort of made that sweeper role, that +1 role, his sort of own, and was an integral part of that Sigerson winning team as well. And then finally, to pair them off then is Paddy Quinn, club man of my own. But I can't speak highly enough of Paddy. His preparation for gym sessions, for training sessions, never mind games, is absolutely meticulous, which is no coincidence why week on week he is consistently one of the best performers in our team the whole time. He, whatever way you want it, you want to go toe to toe with him and sort of go wrestling or fighting him, he'll easily do that. Or if you want to go just playing with football, his athletic ability is ridiculous. So whether it's a man marking cornerback job that you want him to do, or a ball and half back, he has it all in his locker there. So I have the fortune or the pleasure of marking Paddy plenty of times in training, say during the year, and whether it's a cold, wet Wednesday night or a championship final day, it's 100 mile an hour with Paddy, and he doesn't give you an inch. But yeah, just a serious teammate to have, and an absolute pleasure to that we have him in our team.
In your midfield then, Conor, you have a pretty towering midfield here. You have Tom Flynn of Galway, and then obviously now Grimley from Armagh as well.
Yeah, two, I suppose, similar type players, I suppose, that have the ability to dominate a game in the air. I suppose to start off with Tom, he's about 6'6", a massive colossus of a man that can obviously dominate games early, but then whenever the ball hits the ground, he has freakish athletic ability to cover ground, very similar to that of Niall, I suppose. But I think maybe Tom a few years back scored a famous enough goal again, Kerry, where he picked the ball up in his own half, soldiered her the whole way up the pitch with his right foot, and then buried it with his left. That just sort of epitomizes the quality that Tom has. And then similarly with Niall, I suppose, played with Niall with Armagh for a period, but then mostly with Craig Kieran, the sort of amalgamation of Derrynoose, Middletown and Madden. But similar to Tom, it's like his ability to high point the ball in the air is unbelievable. But then once that hits the ground, then his ability to carry a ball from defence to attack and then finish that off with his shooting ability left and right, it's man to have in your team. But yeah, whenever you're under a bit of pressure and you're against the cosh, to be able to leather a ball down Niall's throat, more often than not, he comes down with it. But yeah, two supermen that you wouldn't mind having out round the middle in your team now.
And are they two boys, Conor, I suppose they're two attack-minded midfielders. Are they always looking to get the ball into the forward line as soon as possible? You mentioned they're strong runners, obviously, but good kick passage as well.
Yeah, I suppose both of them have for County, and then obviously Tom, even with DCU, have sort of played midfield up. So sort of been on the other side of the coin, to I suppose, of knowing what it's like to be a forward looking a ball, but similarly have super feet on them to deliver a ball and to finish off moves in as well. So yeah, two great men to have in your team, because it's literally win a ball, head up, can we get it inside as quickly as possible? And both them men have unbelievable range of passing that they have the ability to do that then as well.
Your half forward line then, Conor, you have Dermot O'Connor, who obviously needs no introduction. Everybody knows who he is. You have Mark Murray from Derrynoose, and Shane Carey then from Monaghan, who was on that DCU team.
Yeah, so I suppose start off with Dermot. Like I say, not too much I can say that a lot of people don't already know from watching him over recent years, but I've never played with or seen a man that just can get through so much work in a game. His hunger to work like an absolute dog is unbelievable. I think he's gassed and he's out in his feet, and he can continue to cover ground, get back, tackle, turnover, but then the ability to influence the game going the other way then as well, and kicking scores from range and distance is something to behold. But yeah, he's an outstanding talent. That's just the only way to describe it. I suppose he's made that wing half forward, or sort of being the benchmark for that wing half forward role, probably at intercounty level for this past number of years, really. But yeah, playing centre half forward with a man like Doc to your side makes life a whole lot easier now. And then similarly, I suppose the Shane on the other side, just a man with a freakish engine, an ability to cover ground. But then at the same time, I suppose in 2016 we made a run to the Sigerson Final as well, and Shane probably went from being probably more renowned at intercounty level for being that sort of working wing half forward role to that 2016 Sigerson campaign being the marquee forward that we had, as well as with Scotstown's success over this past number of years and a bit of dominance in Monaghan over this past 5 to 10 years, that he's an integral part of their forward line there too in terms of getting scores. But that's just an absolute testament to the work that he puts in away from everything. Unbelievable football brain, and just a hunger to improve himself and the players around him. But a player that any team would love to have in their ranks, and Sheehan ticks a lot of boxes on that regard. And then finally in the middle there, Mark Murray. So I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to play a few years with Mark towards the end of his career. But I suppose the influence that he had in me growing up was second to none. I suppose a lot of other lads in Derrynoose club and around sort of my age group and generation then as well, that Mark, I suppose, carried the fight and carried the sword for Derrynoose for a number of years, that probably carried the burden of the scoring threat for the guts of about 15 years. If Mark didn't kick about 8 to 10 points in a game, Derrynoose just didn't win, and that's just was as simple as that, really. But even to go with the scoring threat, he wouldn't shy away from the donkey work out around the middle as well, that I suppose comes with junior football in the 2000s, I suppose, then as well. But yeah, could not have Mark in, even for those last couple of years that I did play with him. His just know-how and nous and cuteness of how to play, how to find space, and then still has the ability to kick scores towards the end of his career. But super fella, and I suppose unlucky with injuries, that he would probably had a longer run with Armagh around their sort of peak time as well. But absolutely super player.
And just when you're describing Mark there, Conor, I feel like you're nearly describing yourself. You're the top scorer most days out for Derrynoose, but last year you also went out and you were the centre half forward then. Were you able to sort of learn from Mark in your early days how to sort of play that role?
Yeah, I suppose one of them people that you'd be stupid not to sort of lean on for guidance in those situations, and how to even sort of best handle for similar situations that we probably would be in to an extent of. Yeah, he's sort of an ear to sort of chat to then as well, and he's got unbelievable experience from his time obviously playing with Derrynoose, but then with Armagh and that then as well, and understands the burden that you sometimes have in terms of sort of the scoring threat, and how you can then be a little bit more effective by taking yourself away from that and sort of playing a role in that aspect, more so than sort of just being the person who sort of gets on the end of moves, maybe being a step or two further back from that, and what influence and impact you can have in a game in that regard. But yeah, he's definitely someone that you can lean on for advice in that regard, to try and make yourself a little bit of a better player, and hopefully be half as successful and as good a footballer as he was.
Then with your inside line, Conor, you have Micheál McKenna here, Enda Smith from Roscommon, who everybody will likely know, and then Derrynoose's Davy McCreesh, who you've sort of made a good partnership with up front the last couple of years.
Yeah, Davy's just an outstanding footballer. It's just as simple as that. An unbelievable football brain, a leader, but one of the most clinical sharpshooters that you're ever likely to come across at any level of football. But I suppose a big testament even to Davy is he's did his cruciate in ACL twice now, just continuously put his head down, work hard, come back fitter, better, stronger, and just a fella that just makes your life so much easier on a pitch, that all he needs is a half a yard, give him a ball, and he's just so clinical in that. But I suppose the good thing from Derrynoose's point of view is I don't even think we've scratched the surface with his abilities and his talents there. So I look forward to having a front row view of that over the coming years of how good he actually can be, because he's got everything you possibly need in the locker there. But yeah, just a special player and an outstanding talent that we're lucky to have in Derrynoose. And then I suppose Mihal on the other side then, probably one of the smartest players I've ever played with. Just a joy to play with. It's like if you make any run whatsoever, Mihal will put a ball on a plate for you. Similar to what I said with some of the other boys, that Mihal would happily go toe to toe in a row with you, or if you let him play, he'll destroy you in that way either. But you can play him inside and he can kick scores for me. You can play him at number 11 and he'll go playmaking and he can do that then as well. But yeah, play with him right the way up through, I suppose, with Armagh, and one of those players that's just an absolute joy to play with, I suppose, for maybe a few different reasons in terms of work or other commitments that Armagh only got probably a few years out of Mihal, but undoubtedly one of the best forwards and most talented forwards in the county, and is continually doing that with the Grange as well. But yeah, an outstanding player, Mihal is. And then finally, Enda Smith from Roscommon. So Enda, I would say, it has to be probably one of the most talented, if not the talented player that I've ever played with. I love a player that first instinct is goal, and Enda certainly ticks that box. Whether he gets a ball in the edge of the square or he gets a 60 yards from goal, if you switch off, he can punish you. An unbelievably strong runner with the ball. Can move out the midfield, can fetch for them, but then also can kick points from distance off either foot. But yeah, a super teammate to have, just so smart, so clever for bringing players into play, and then he just picks and chooses moments in the game where he can take a ball and just turn a game as quickly as that, which is an unbelievable trait and ability to have, that you can literally turn a game on his head yourself. And Enda definitely has that ability, and done it numerous times for DCU, and over his past number of years has probably been renowned as one of the best talents in the country with Roscommon, and has done it time in, time out. But yeah, super player, and somebody definitely couldn't leave out of the team.
I suppose training with the likes of an Enda Smith and a Diarmuid O'Connor, you get to see why these boys are at the top level of the game, Conor, that they put in the work and they're so dedicated at their craft.
Absolutely. And I suppose probably the main thing that you probably see from it is there's no real secret or magic sauce to it, to an extent. Was the way we were in DCU, all sort of footballers lived in one house on campus, so you get to see that sort of day in, day out of how boys live their lives and what they do and the effort that they put in. And yeah, there's no real secret to it. Those lads put in a ferocious amount of work at just continuously trying to improve themselves. And yeah, it's great to see that firsthand, that you think it's a million miles away, I suppose, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is just down to how much you sort of want it and hard work that you put in. Then obviously a lot of those lads that we sort of ran through have unbelievable natural talent as well, but I suppose that on its own probably isn't enough. But they work extremely hard at it, and have obviously over this past number of years seen the fruits of that on the biggest stage.
And with your sub bench then as well, Conor, I think this is maybe what people find most difficult when they're picking their team, is who makes the subs bench and how close they were to getting into the team. But you have a couple of Armagh boys here. You have Ethan Rafferty, Paul McGowan and Andrew Murnan. You have Conor McHugh, who is probably the same as we were saying about the likes of Jack Smith there, would walk on to any other team in the country. It's just the fact he's from Dublin. You have Kelvin Feely from Kildare, and then Barry McNally from Derrynoose.
Yeah, I suppose we'll start off with the Armagh lads. Ethan, very similar to Tom and Niall around the middle, has just the ability to dominate games of football, can play anywhere from midfield up the way. Actually can play in nets too. He's done a stint in there as well, so a good utility man to have around the squad. So but yeah, an absolute bomb of a left foot too, for kicking scores from absolutely anywhere. But yeah, can can catch with them, can run with them, can shoot, and literally can just dominate a game. Ethan can. The other two lads, Paul McGowan, supposed to play with Paul right the way through with St. Pat's Armagh and then up through with Armagh then too. But probably the most clinical, cold finisher that I've ever come across. It's give Paul a chance and he buries it. Super player, just clinical forward, and the bigger the occasion, the bigger the performance from Paul was. So he definitely was very close to the team. And then last is Andy. I suppose only really got 1 year with Andy at McCrory days back in Potts Armagh, but was just head and shoulders above everybody else. Ability to leap, fetch, kick scores off both feet. Just had it all. Was just so much better than the rest of us. And like I say, I suppose only for probably being hampered with injuries over his past number of years, probably haven't just got a full run of it and sort of years back to back, and how good he possibly can be. But yeah, an outstanding footballer that can do it all. The last, in terms of our Armagh side of things, is with Barry. Similar to Mark, I suppose, just a massive influence on me and other lads in Derrynoose growing up through. Like I say, probably suffered the burden of maybe not as many decent teams in Derrynoose. So through the noughties of consistently being able to compete year in, year out. But in terms of a player, just extremely accurate, just sort of a wand of a left foot that get us an opportunity inside the scoring zone. It's just automatic. And then playing with him then too, similar I suppose to Mihal then as well. It's just makes the players around him better in terms of just passes to the right side of the players, right side of the man, opening up, just being able to thread passes through the eye of the needle. And then just sort of towards the tail end of his career, whenever I was playing with him, just that know-how and nous, how to win a free, how to win a ball, get out in front and sort of use his football and brain was unbelievable. So someone that myself and I know a lot of other guys around the club was able to learn a lot off growing up through. And then the last two lads that I would have played with in DCU as well, Conor McHugh on his day is just absolutely untouchable. Probably has a few All-Ireland medals in his back pocket to boot, but like I said, similar to Jack, if Conor was in any other county across the country, would be a marquee forward and known across the country, because he just is that talented. Like some of the stuff you would have seen him do is just your jaw drops. It's like, how do you do that? But yeah, a super corner forward, and someone that is just extremely clinical whenever he gets the ball. It's just efficient every single time. And then lastly, then Kevin Feely at Kildare. So only got to play 1 year with Kevin and as well in DCU. My last year in DCU, he came back from England. He was over playing professional soccer over there for a number of years, and then came back home to play with Kildare. But just someone, I suppose, that whatever he turns his hand to, he's just extremely good at. Obviously went from soccer to Gaelic. He played actually full back for us in our Sigerson team, but obviously, well, not to his joy, I don't think, but more, I suppose, renowned for being out around the middle for Kildare, sort of dominating that sort of sector of the field. And then a fella that kicks frees off both feet for Kildare, so it just shows the ball playing ability that he has as well. But yeah, only got the 1 year with Kevin now, but somebody that has a huge amount of talent that can sort of translate across the full pitch.
I think we'll just take a last look at your team then, Conor. I think we've 8 counties at a quick count. I think we've 8 counties represented on that. So obviously you can see how good of a team it is. and how well represented a lot of counties are. And I suppose if you take in Kevin Feely then from the subs bench, that's 9. And just to finish up then, Conor, we finish every show with 2 quick fire questions. So I suppose as a forward, obviously you named some brilliant forwards there, the likes of Ananda Smith and Diarmuid O'Connor, and you named a very attacking sub bench as well. Who was the best, maybe not the best player you played with, but best that you formed a partnership with, or the best that you would want beside you anytime you went out onto the field?
Yeah, an interesting one, I suppose, just in terms of sheer talent, in terms of a forward. It's hard to look too far past Andy Smith. Just has everything you'd want in a Gaelic footballer, in his locker, really, in terms of athletic ability, in terms of being able to finish off both feet, field in the air, and then just cuteness and smartness as well, to be able to find a pass and pick a pass and bring other players into play. He's sort of second to none on that one. In terms, I suppose, partnerships, I suppose, a wee bit of a different one. Played probably a little bit longer with some of the other lads, and sort of more regular basis. So with college, you've got your Sigerson League and then the Sigerson itself, so it's a little bit more limited. But I suppose growing up through playing Davy now, I suppose it's hopefully only kicking off. There's plenty of years to come on the back of that one, but absolutely love playing with Mihal, growing up through with Armagh. One of those that you didn't even have to even talk or shout, just sort of made a run and the ball was just put on an absolute plate for you. So it's it's always nice playing with players that make you look better, and Mihal certainly did that on numerous occasions.
And this could generate the same answer, I'm not sure. But the last question: if there was a transfer market, who would you be bringing into the Derrynoose setup for the season ahead?
Oh, wouldn't mind a few of them now. I'm not lie, but I suppose even just for versatility wise, I'd probably go Diarmuid O'Connor. A man that's obviously played midfield for his county, played wing half forward, can kick 45s, can kick frees. He's been successful with his club and with his county, and even just having that work ethic, and seeing what it is like up close is sort of something to behold then too. But just an all rounder that can do absolutely anything, extremely versatile on that one. But yeah, Diarmuid, I suppose, has set the benchmark for a lot of players across the country, and I suppose just as fell short, I suppose, at the final hurdle on a couple of occasions with Dublin, against Dublin. So yeah, I suppose if we could have somebody for the 2021 championship, I'd say Doc wouldn't be a bad place to start.
That's great, Conor. Thanks very much for joining us. And as I say, we'll be back hopefully every week with another player telling us their dream team. So thanks for coming on, Conor, and giving us a good chat.
No worries. Thanks for being in, Sean.